Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hype, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, welcome back to the Baseball Hype 3. And hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So we're back here talking about some really insane people. And there is nobody, and the HUD means nobody, more crazier than Keith Olbermann. He has got to be certifiably nuts. He's a guy who has burned so many bridges through the media. I mean, this is a guy that the media and his former employers are basically saying, we give up, you're fired. Yeah, I mean, just completely insane. I've not seen this kind of craziness in terms of a media person. This side of this sci-fi writer named Chuck Wendig. Chuck Wendig was a guy that wrote Star Wars novels. And the guy was just an ideologue, a crazy guy. He was living like on the border of Pennsylvania and Kentucky, and he was just insane. Well, I went to a convention years ago, and he was going to do a Darth Vader book from Marvel, and he went to the con. Now, I didn't go to the panel. I went to the DC panel, but he was at that convention. And he met up with all the people that were going to help him produce this Darth Vader Marvel Star Wars comic. That Friday they met, I believe. That Thursday, that Friday of the convention, they met him. They all met up with him. That Monday, the book was canceled. Because I think they realized, the editor and all the people around him realized he was certifiably nuts. I've not seen and I used to call him F. Chuck Wendig, but I've not seen anybody this crazy in the media other than probably Keith Olbermann. And Keith Olbermann is an ideologue of the major order. I mean, he just says crazy stuff. I mean, he's been at MSNBC, got fired. He was at ESPN, got fired. Went back to MSNBC, got fired. Went back to ESPN, got fired. He just doesn't get along with anybody. Well, he's now had a blow up. Let me read you this. With Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith is a huge personality. You talk about an influencer. He crosses over not just sports, but culturally. Stephen A. Smith engages, this is from Awful Announcing, engages in war of words with Keith Olbermann over ICE shooting. And I want to say this about Keith Olbermann. I'm sick of your pathetic ass. I mean, really, I saw the clip. He just sort of completely ripped into him. Stephen A. Smith's political career has devolved into a very familiar pattern, and his latest feud is no exception. Now, I think we know where that's going. This time, it's former Sports Center anchor, a longtime liberal political commentator, an insane person, that's my little head thing, Keith Olbermann, that he's scrapping with. Now, I would mention about Keith Olbermann. He doesn't have children. I think he has a cat. Does not marry. Doesn't have a girlfriend, as far as I can tell. Smith and Olbermann exchanged tweets and podcast rants over the tragic ICE shooting of Renee Nicole No Good that has drawn outrage from across the country. The heavy-handed reaction from the Trump administration and the way they are promising to handle any investigations only throwing gasoline on the fire. Here's the thing. Minnesota is one of the most corrupt states in the country. It is a pirate state. It is overrun by pirates from Somalia. Okay? And it is just a complete, total disaster there. The governor, and they've all backtracked because this film came out that the woman and the girlfriend were egging on her to drive and run over the cops. And this woman, Renee Good, is a political operative. And now it's getting worse there in Minneapolis, to where all these liberal women are bringing their babies there because they want to see these babies get killed. It's just craziness. Keep your children at home. Smith is a bit of a chameleon politically. He labels himself, I love this commentary, this should be just a sport, there should be no opinions here. He labels himself as a moderate and an independent, even though he has constantly made noise about a potential POTUS run as a Democrat. He will not run. He doesn't have that much charisma. But he has also consistently taken a position that has found himself aligned with the Trump administration. And in his comments on the shooting, Smith said that the ICE officer who killed Good was completely justified in spite of the video evidence that at least calls for a full independent investigation be completed before drawing concrete conclusions. We have the camera of the cop. She runs him over. That led Keith Olbermann to speak out on social media saying it was time for ESPN to fire Stephen A. Smith for damaging the brand. It was political commentary more than he ever could embrace in sports debate. And here's the thing about Olbermann. He's one of these guys that lives by himself. Who's he talk to? He don't talk to anybody. He doesn't talk to anybody. He's one of these, like I said, he basically has nothing. Nothing going on. I think he has a podcast. But he's got no, I mean, at this point, he's just angry. He's just angry at the world, to be honest with you. Now, this is what Olbermann said. Between speaking for a lot of people who actually built the place, it's time for ESPN to fire Stephen A. Smith. He's now damaging the brand in a way his on-air cartoon character could never approach. Man, my goodness. If you followed any of Stephen A. Smith's political career, you know what happens next. On his straight shooter political show, Smith went scorched earth on Keith Olbermann and yet another extended rant aimed at one of his critics. Now, he's the guy I work with them. These are co-workers. Let me read you this. Stephen A. Smith's voice nearly cracks with rage as he goes off on Keith Olbermann. Olbermann urged ESPN to fire Smith's ass. His ass. And Smith has finally had enough. This is from Vigilant Fox. I want to say this about Keith Olbermann. I'm sick of your pathetic ass. I really, really am. You are a 66-year-old. Like I said, I saw this. I watched this. It's pretty funny. And I want to say this. Let me read you this. I want to say this about Keith Olbermann. I'm sick of your pathetic ass. I really, really am. You're a 66-year-old barely with any friends. Who the hell knows what's going on in your life? I mean, really just... And all you do is sit back, and the second you disagree with somebody, you pop shit. You, of all people. You, Keith Olbermann, literally trying to get me fired. It's time for ESPN to fire Stephen A. Smith. He's hurting the brand. He's bad. He's damaging the brand. What? Smith then took a shot at Olbermann physically and his reputation for burning bridges wherever he goes. Former ESPN PR chief Mike Schultz is famous for saying that the longtime ESPN host didn't burn bridges here. He napalmed them. Of course, Olbermann did return to ESPN for 2 different stints in the 2010s, although they weren't without some controversy. Quote, cartoon character. Who looks more like a cartoon character than you, Keith Olbermann? You can't run 5 feet with your fat self. And I'm not talking about fat people. I'm talking about Keith Olbermann. You can't run 5 feet. You've been walking around with a cane, exercising melodrama every chance you get. All you do is make enemies. You napalm bridges all the time, including ESPN, and you got the nerve to talk about me? I want you all to know, ladies and gentlemen, I've been in this business since 1994. I had never, and he said nice things about him, I've never uttered a negative syllable about Keith Olbermann, ever, ever. Keith Olbermann is one of the greatest talents we've ever had in sports television, if not television overall. An unbelievable, exceptionally gifted writer and commentator who's nothing short of an exceptional at what he does. So why does he have to resort of being seen on YouTube and barely anywhere else? Because nobody wants him. Because he's a raw pain in the ass. That's why he is. He's a pain in the ass. Stephen A. Smith then went on to recount the career travels of Keith Olbermann, doing a lengthy rundown of the various fireworks that have taken place at his various stops. He called people like Olbermann the problem with America after torching his entire career. For his part, Olbermann has been a regular critic of Smith, calling him a right-wing dupe, a moron, and an effing idiot. The former MSNBC and ESPN host also called for SAS to be fired last April. Well, the part of this is jealousy, you know. This is jealousy on the part of Olbermann, because Olbermann can't take it. And, the fact that Smith is so influential, he just can't take it. If either man's career history can be taken into account, odds are that Olbermann will have a retort of his own very soon. So this between past and present ESPN personalities may not be done just yet. I hope so. I hope this continues. We'll see how this video does. But, like I said, I'm not a big fan of Stephen A. Smith. But I do not like Olbermann. Most people don't like Olbermann because he's pompous. Thinks he knows everything. talks down to the audience, particularly on the political side. But the fact he can't keep a job on the sports side, when a lot of them agree with him, with a lot of his rants, it tells you how very difficult he is to deal with. And that's just how he is. That's been his reputation for the last 20 years. Last 25 years. Very difficult to deal with. Not pleasant to deal with at all. Well, you let me know what you think about this video, and I hope and keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll see how this video does, and if it does well and they continue to go back and forth, we'll dig into this. This is a lot of fun. Olbermann, I've done a video on Olbermann before. He's nuts, crazy. Well, thank you for watching this video, and of course, please subscribe to Baseball at 3, and I'll see you later.